Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have my conversation today with artist Lauren Bond. And I'm going to give you the title of the talk and a little bio, and then Lauren's going to speak. The title of the talk is Artists Need to Create on the Same Scale That Society Has the Capacity to Destroy, Addressing Critical, Social, and Environmental Issues Through Art Intervention. Now I'm going to give you Lauren's bio. You can, point, I'm like dyslexic, that way, or that way. Okay, Lauren Bond is an environmental artist from Los Angeles, California. Her practice, Metabolic Studio, explores self-sustaining and self-diversifying systems of exchange that feed emergent properties that regenerate the life web. Some of her works include Not A Cornfield, which transformed and revived an industrial brownfield in downtown Los Angeles into a 32-acre cornfield for one agricultural cycle. 100 Mules Walking the Los Angeles Aqueduct, a 240-mile performative action that aimed to reconnect the city of Los Angeles with with the source of its water for the centenary of the opening of Los Angeles Aqueduct. Her studio's current work, Bending the River, which we're going to talk about today, aims to utilize Los Angeles' first private water right to deliver 106 acre-feet of water annually from the LA River to over 50 acres of land in the historic core of downtown LA. And this model can be replicated to regenerate the 52-mile LA River, reconnected to its floodplain, and form a citizen's utility. Wow. Hi, Lauren. Are you speaking to us from, we see you're walking. We can't really see what's behind you.
Oh yeah, I'm just walking right now because I'm going to go outside.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the first question, which is about Metabolic Studio. And I'm super interested in this particular topic, so I'm going to just quote you one more time, that the studio operates with a mission to explore and address critical and social environmental issues through art interventions and innovative project aimed at reparation. So there's two words in there. Can you talk a little bit about the mission of the project and what reparation is and what are art interventions as opposed to like an art practice that doesn't have interventions, what that exactly means?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you for your subject on disentangling the patriarchy, because I think it's a really good segue into what a metabolic studio practice is.
Great.
Because when you think about disentangling the patriarchy, when I do, one of the things that I think about is how we've inherited a kind of concept of domination over things. So, like somehow when we go to school, we're taught that to excel, we need to be the best at something, or when we, learn about like the Enlightenment, we think about how man inherited the earth as if it's now ours, to control and put an imprint on. And when we think about a matrilineal approach to the same thing, I think we think about partnership and collaboration and how everything leads to something else. And that nourishes us. And so when I think about what is Metabolic Studio and what is an art practice that is metabolic, it's when I can replace the art object with an art catalyst, which allows the object of the work to be the renewal of the life systems that will generate their own healing. In other words, I'm not trying to find a solution, but I'm trying to use creative practice to catalyze life back into being and let life heal itself. And I think about that as art practice because I think of art practice as an endless opportunity to be teachable and to learn and to be engaged in the world in productive kind of ways. And everything I do with Metabolic Studio self-complicates and self-diversifies and leads to 20 other things. So does that make any sense so far?
Yeah, because I saw that the heart that you did in Salton Sea, and we
Yeah,
saw it in a pool, and then you took it back. Just can you talk about that? Because I think that's a really good concrete example.
yeah, absolutely.
So incredible.
Um,
You have,
so,
Lauren's going to talk about it. It's incredible.
a couple of years ago, um, um, Desert X came to the studio and they said that they would love to commission a work that was a metabolic work. And by metabolic work, they were thinking about reparation. And I was saying, well, how long is the show? And they said, 10 weeks. And I said, well, my shortest work takes 7 years, right? Like to actually see things actually happen
Yeah,
requires an enormous amount of time.
right.
But maybe what I can try and do is make a start at something, make a model of something that could be showable, and then we'll see where it goes.
Mhm.
And so, what I was interested in thinking about um, is the big picture of Metabolic Studio's practice, which we call aiming at describing the cyborg watershed of the Intermountain West. Now, what I mean by
That again, the cyborg?
cyborg watershed of the Intermountain West, and what I mean by that is that we've taken all of the major rivers that move the snowpack from the Eastern Sierra and the Rockies. We've taken control of all of their flow in order to create the water and power grids for a network of cities that stretch all through the Intermountain West. That means LA, San Diego, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Albuquerque, Santa Fe. We're all the same place when it comes to our water and power grids. So there's a really kind of false notion of place
Oh,
that that exists when we talk about what city we're from, because if the Colorado River dries up, we don't have power in LA.
so we're all
Neither. So they're all connected, and they're all controlled rivers, and they're controlled by complex systems of surveillance, and they're controlled by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers under the moniker of Protect and Defend, right?
that's
So,
interesting to me. How is it that they're under military control? Like, how is the water?
well, all waterways in the United States are under the control of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has 500,000 employees.
Oh my,
That's the largest engineering outfit in the world, and the person in charge is a presidential appointment. So if you take something that has a feminine principle, like a river,
yeah.
right, and you understand that all rivers and streams and creeks that flow in the continental United States are controlled by the US Army, you realize that the poetics here of disentangling the patriarchy is embodied in the way that we manage our rivers.
That's insane.
So,
I really did not understand that. Wow.
so I wanted to first give you kind of the big picture of how your subject
Yeah.
on disentangling the patriarchy relates directly to the kind of epistemological idea of bending the river, right? And you're bringing up the smallest sea with the largest heart. Um, uh, so the reason that I chose a heart for the Desert X installation is that we all understand the heart, and it's something all mammals share. And the blue whale is the largest mammal that has ever existed on Earth and still exists. The bones of a few blue whales were found in the Salton Sea.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Wow.
showing that once upon a time, way back in geological past, when what we now call the Bay of California or the Sea of Cortez, which we no longer call it because of colonizers' names, was connected to the Salton Sink, which was a low depression, which is now the Salton Sea. And blue whales would normally swim there, especially to have their babies.
Oh.
So I thought, well, this is so poetic because when a whale dies, there's something called whale fall, where the whale's body sinks to a whale fall is when the whale's body sinks to the bottom of the sea and it becomes like an oasis for all the other animals that live in the sea, sometimes for hundreds of years. So I thought, well, imagine that this place that's like at the heart center of the California desert is as poetic as it is because of the enrichment that the whales that once swim there brought to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose the heart to work with for that reason, but also because of the way that the Colorado River and that's connected to the Salton Sea, and I'll explain how in a minute. How the Colorado River and all of the infrastructure to control it, to give us water and power, is a cyborgian blue whale's heart. It moves water through all of these siphons and channels and ducts in the same way your veins move blood through your body. So the idea of evoking a heart, a giant heart, as a sculptural form in the context of the story of the Salton Sea has two meanings. It has a meaning in terms of deep geological time to connect to a time in the past when whales used to swim in the desert, in what we now call the desert, meaning who knows what the future has in store for us. You can in the large arc of time imagine many different potential futures, including one where the Salton Sea is again part of the Pacific, in deep future time. But also, how do we as environmental artists help people understand that the hydraulics of all of these networks of cities that we live in are like a heart too, right? They're moving water from a river to where we want it to go, which is the body of the urban landscape. And so one of the false divides that we've created since the Enlightenment is this like duality between city and nature, right? When in fact, it's all, if water is life, then wherever you have the water, you have nature. Whether it's little plants that are kind of moving up in cracks between the soil, that's still nature. That's as much nature as anything else. And so this again is about disentangling the patriarchal notion of domination over nature. Like we put nature, we other nature, right? We say it's not where we are, it's over there, as a way to kind of disempower us to believe that we can nurture nature wherever we are. So the work that we do at Metabolic Studio is in that challenge of taking the most complicated, distressed places where life has almost been ground down to a halt, like where I am right now at Metabolic Studio, which would have been 160 years ago the most fertile land in all of this area, because it's a big giant drainage basin at the foothill of big hills and mountains. So when it would rain, it would flood here and the soil would be really rich. And now it's the epicenter of where every highway except for the 405 moves through, and train lines on two sides of a thing we call the LA River, which is in fact a flood control measure put in by the US Army Corps in the 1930s in order to control the floods. Now, isn't there again an incredible metaphor about controlling floods and the patriarchy, right? Like all of this idea that we should control wild floods that should normally happen here. And with those wild floods would come biodiversity that's needed here. So yes, we have figured out how to control wild floods, but at the cost of biodiversity. So what we say here at Metabolic Studio is, now what? Now what do we do? What do we do with the Salton Sea, which is the accidental consequence of a break in the Colorado River infrastructure? So, you know, all of that was a rogue lake that happened because water being piped into the Imperial Valley around the Salton Sea, a pipe broke and they didn't notice it until the whole Salton Sea was filled up again.
No.
Yeah, that's how the Salton Sea got made.
I had no idea. Can you talk a little, because I know you have so much to say, but I want to get to bending the river, what you're doing, because it's truly astonishing.
Yeah. Did I finish the heart story well enough for you, though?
Yeah, that was perfect. It's incredible.
Okay.
You guys can go out and see it. Can people see from Salton? It's under the water.
No.
But no, can't
Yeah,
see.
you can't, but you can go on Metabolic Studio's website to our live cameras and
Oh,
have a look at and listen to where the heart is. We kind of are working with transmission art
oh wow.
out there. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera around for a second.
River, because that you can see, and it's truly astonishing. I mean, when you go there, you just don't believe the size and scope of what Lauren and Metabolic Studio has done. I can't really see.
Okay.
That. Can you see that, you guys?
Can you see a picture here?
Yeah, I can't, but I think other people can. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm calling you from this little blob of green right here.
Okay.
And this is the LA State Historic Park. And this is the LA River. And out in the hazy background is the ocean.
Oh, wow.
And so this visualization shows you what we're trying to accomplish, which is to bring the water from the LA River out of the LA River to form a new river which can recreate what normally would have been here in the geological past, which is trees and plants and living things would have come to this basin in order to live. And that's what I would say would be a reparation work.
Can you talk about some of the things you found, the soil? And
yeah, I'm gonna go down with you. So in order to do this project, I had to get permission to go down into the LA River from the US Army Corps of Engineers. And when I finally did get permission to do that, when we picked up the concrete, cut it out in shapes in order to make sculptural objects from it, we discovered underneath the river was another river. And that river is pure and clean and untouched. And we thought, well, what if all of that material is still alive? This is one of the triangles. Can you see this? This is one of the triangles that I cut out from the LA River last year. And this is the material that was buried underneath this triangle. And these are California poppies that have germinated this spring that have been buried under the LA River for more than 100 years. Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible. They were just there and they're growing without any plant or anything.
They were just waiting. And now I'm going to go inside the studio. You can see here all of the concrete from the river. And this is the soil that came out from underneath the where the mother well is outside. And in the last 3 months, all of these grasses and seeds have sprouted inside a concrete warehouse.
Incredible.
And these And these seeds are dating back thousands of years since they've seen light.
Oh my God.
So the optimistic thing here is that life is truly abundant. So if you look at this timeline of the LA River area, this urban industrial era of geological time, which we're living in now, has in underneath the ground seeds which date way back to the era of geological time here, that is the Clovis era, 7,000 years. So here we have literally an inversion of placing the old soil on top of the latest incarnation, which is an industrial time. And encouraged by that, we've taken the floors out of Metabolic Studio and started to heal the toxicity in the ground here, which used to be standard oil, using minerals and plants, so that when we clean the water, the LA River water that will come out of the well soon, it will be able to flow through this warehouse and get cleansed. And this is a little bit of LA River water in a fishing tank, so we can actually understand how clean the water can get just with cleaning it with minerals and plants.
Fish and stuff living in there, I can't see.
Yeah, there are fish in here. Fish and frogs and all kinds of things. Just to say that life is abundant, and in a very difficult time that we're living in, just remember that we're part of the web of life, and the web of life can heal itself with very little, except for the same things that have always worked: light and water, seed, fungus, bacteria, and time and care. Life responds to care.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I kind of wanted to end with.
Thank you. This is, I mean, can people come and see this work, or how will that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're open every Tuesday for the public. So we have a volunteer hour from 12 to 1 where people come and work with the living systems. And then we have lunch. And then we have learning and mending that happens here, where we sit and we educate ourselves while we're doing embroidery. And that's at 2:30 at Metabolic, or on Zoom every Tuesday. Our next learning and mending will start this week, and it's on healing with native plants and how it relates to ideas of witchcraft. And so that's starting Tuesday, and for 7 weeks at Metabolic or on Zoom. And you can sign up on Eventbrite if you look at Metabolic Studio, or just come by.
Great. This is, I mean, I cannot tell you like how big and amazing this project is, as are all of Lauren's project, but this is absolutely worth seeing and worth witnessing in your eyes, like how humans can transform what looks like, I mean, it looks like a really desolate area there, and you've brought it back to life. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's really incredible what...
fertile. And there are alternative systems, and we have to end now, that there are different ways to organize life that are, as you were saying, that I call towards re-embodying equality, and that's kind of what we're doing in these conversations, is looking at alternative systems, because we're talking about structural changes that are non-hierarchical, non-domination, more based on care, compassion, egalitarian societies, and all this is possible, and this is a model of that, which is why I wanted to talk with you, because it's sort of embracing everything that the possibility of what we can do to really transform our world, which currently is, not doing so well.
Challenging.
Challenging is the word, yes, challenging. Thank you so much, Lauren. I think you froze again. Okay, we'll end with frozen. Can you froze? Lauren, you froze.
Oh, I
froze again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.